Hi everyone, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about the effects of what you're eating and drinking and how they can show up on your skin as breakouts, acne or even irritation and rashes, and why this is often so difficult to see. And the reason for that is that it's part of your everyday routine. What you're eating and drinking doesn't stand out as something unusual. It just feels normal. And that's not really your fault. It's more of a societal issue. Because when something is causing an issue, it usually doesn't stand out. It just blends into what you're already used to, especially if the same habits exist all around you. So you don't really question it. And I think that's what makes it so easy to miss. Because a lot of what you're consuming today is highly processed, but it doesn't look like it. Or you've just been so used to it that it looks familiar. And if you never really step outside of that environment, it's extremely hard to see. I mean, a simple example is bread. What you might be eating as bread can look very similar to something traditionally made. I actually mentioned that one in one of my recent videos, where I explained that white bread itself is not really the issue, but the version you are eating can be. Because what most of us are eating is a highly processed version of it, not something traditionally made with just a few ingredients. Now let me show you an example. This is a very commonly eaten version of bread, and as you can see, the ingredients list is quite long. And then in the next picture, you have something that also looks like white bread, but it's completely different, made with just a few simple ingredients. And that difference can actually make a big impact over time, including on your skin. And the thing is, if you're used to that, you don't really question it. It just becomes part of what you consider normal food. And what makes it even more confusing is that it can look exactly the same, or at least very similar, so you don't really question it. You might be eating a heavily processed version, while someone else is also eating bread, but it's something completely different. And that's where the problem really starts. Because over time, the reference point of what food actually looks like in a more natural or less processed form starts to fade. So everything begins to feel normal, even if it's not. But since you see it everywhere, it just feels like that's the way it is. And the issue is that when it becomes part of your everyday routine, it can affect your digestion, and that can show up on your skin. For example, as breakouts, acne, or sometimes even irritation or rashes. But since it's always been there, it's very difficult to connect the two. So instead of solving the cause, you end up managing the symptoms with some kind of topical skincare products. And because the same habits exist all around you, especially online, it reinforces that idea. So it becomes even harder to step back and question it. And you might even start thinking that you are the one doing something wrong. And then when you go out, you feel unsure because you don't really know what is actually normal anymore. And that's why this often goes unnoticed, because it's not one single thing that stands out. It's the overall pattern that becomes normal. And I think the first step is to simply becoming aware of that, to actually start looking at what you're consuming and asking yourself what is closer to its natural form and what is more engineered. And from there, you can slowly adjust things, which will improve your skin and your overall health over time. And that's where you might start finding the real cause. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!